Well, it's looking like the ticket takers and the popcorn makers are going to have to start looking for other employment as the movie theater industry takes a dive, and the reopenings are a big, big disappointment. We've got that and a lot of other news today. Hey everybody, it's JJ. You're watching Bolt to the Bus. Thank you for joining me. Also, real quick, it is Monday, September 21st, 2020. Markets starting off deep in the red, and it's what Yahoo calls September gloom. We know that the fall season is typically the worst time of the year for markets. That's when most crashes happen. Now, I'm not saying there's going to be a crash, but I do expect a lot of volatility. And we see the markets down almost 3%, all major indexes. Oil's down, gold is down, silver's down. And if you've been on this channel, you knew this was going to happen. You expected a pullback. Even in precious metals, I said I wouldn't start buying silver again until about 23, 24. So I wouldn't be surprised to see even a bigger pullback from here. Typically, in times of unease or, in this case, political tension, you see people rush to the dollar. Will this last forever? No, the dollar's days are numbered. But this is a flight to safety, in my opinion, here when you look at what's happening in the markets and the strengthening of the dollar. Okay, let's talk about the movie theater industry and how the reopenings have been a very, very big disappointment. And a tweet here out of Alistair Williamson: nobody is here. This is the actual hallway, and there's nobody in the hallway. Could it be that everyone's in the theater, and maybe this individual is just walking up, late after the movie had already began? Well, no, that theory doesn't hold water because we see inside the theater as the movie's playing. And this was supposed to be a prime time showing for what they're saying here is a new release. And I don't know how any movie theater is going to stay open on this type of attendance. Now, if I had to do the quick math on it there, I'd say that's about 1% capacity, if that. And unless these, 7 or 8 people are buying a ton of popcorn, these theaters are not going to be open much longer, it looks like. Now, ahead of the reopening, Robinhood traders piled into AMC stock and other theater stocks, including Cineworld, AMC, and others. In anticipation, Americans would rush back to theaters, but theater stocks dumped into correction days after the movie was released. And this particular story is talking about a movie called Tenet, and that film collected $9.4 million in the first weekend in North America and just $29.5 million over the first 2 weeks. Now, given the fact that 1 in 3 people are not paying their rent and their mortgages, it's pretty interesting that these movies even made that much. Now, it's likely not just financial. A lot of people are still afraid of the infection. It hasn't went away, and in fact, cases are increasing in some areas. We've also recently seen some transformations occur to try to entice people to watch movies. For example, Walmart was turning some of their parking lots into drive-in movie theaters. Also, malls had movie theaters and a drive-in set up in the parking lots of the malls. Another tweet here out of Alistar. We see the food and beverage counters deserted. And as this first response to this tweet lays out here, they can't keep that type of overhead up much longer. So how much longer until these theaters close down? Okay, on top of the fear of the infection, you have so many people now are streaming, and especially with everybody being at home for many months, people really ramped up their streaming and their subscriptions to these streaming platforms and different apps that are available now, where in some cases you can get new releases and watch them right at home from the comfort of your own couch. So we'll have to see what happens to the movie industry, to the theaters. And we've seen the Fed come in and essentially bail out and buy the debt of many companies and many different industries, and maybe we'll see a movie industry bailout amplified very, very soon. But most of us know by now that this entire economy, this entire financial system is a facade. It's based on debt. It's propped up on debt. And we see now we've reached new all-time highs with the debt to GDP ratio. So if one thing is constant, it is that the system needs an ever-increasing amount of debt in order to keep from imploding. Now, if we look to the far right here, we see this another round of parabolic debt compared to GDP. And we had seen this also at the end of the financial crisis as they quote-unquote came in to rescue the economy with debt. And we know at that time the Fed had said that this was going to be a temporary measure in order to get the economy restarted. Well, we know here 10, 12 years later that the economy was never able to recover on its own because the debt was never able to be unwound from the balance sheet of the funny money, fiat money bankers. And many are asking, how much longer can this manipulation last? Is something going to break? Is there going to be a transformation? Will the dollar fail? Well, the dollar's getting stronger, and I've said it here many, many times. It's the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry. It's the best house in a bad neighborhood. It's the least sick puppy in the litter. But when it does finally happen, and it will, no one knows the exact date, it's going to be a very, very shocking transition for so many people. A lot of these jobs, a lot of these industries are being propped up with debt and bailouts. And now with the Fed in there buying ETFs and corporate debt, everything is getting more and more distorted as we continue into this endless debt system. And nobody knows exactly, but most of the jobs that we see currently may not even exist without a central bank that vows unlimited support for these markets and now corporations as well. Speaking of intervention and stimulus and assistance, California is halting new unemployment claims for 2 weeks to catch up on backlog. You see, this is the problem when you have a population that's dependent on handouts, dependent on the government, including unemployment benefits. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't take the unemployment checks. You should definitely take them. But when you have half the population that's permanently dependent on some sort of government program, it's very, very dangerous, because once that assistance is pulled back, once there's some sort of quote-unquote glitch, or once finally somebody just steps up and says, hey, the money's not here, sorry, we can no longer go in debt, you're on your own now, well, then you've got millions of starving, independent people that have nothing to eat and no place to live. And the mighty, mighty United States of America, that so many people have said for decades is the greatest country in the world, turns into a third world country S-hole, as some would say. Right now, I'm not here bashing the United States. Of course, I live in the U.S. I don't want the U.S. to fail. But let's be honest, the perception that America is so great, is it because we're great, or is it because we can take on endless amounts of debt that allows people in America to live way beyond their means and might give us a much higher standard of living than normally we'd be able to achieve without the endless debt and spending? Well, with so many people in debt and having to work multiple jobs, in some cases a full-time job with a gig economy job on the side, or multiple part-time jobs, the average worker in this study is feeling burnout and stress by the age of 32. Now, this particular study was done out of the UK, but similar findings were found here in the United States, because the cost of living greatly exceeds the average pay. And just like in the United States, in the UK, most people are in debt, or basically their life is just spinning on a hamster wheel of work, pay bills, work, pay bills, work, pay bills. And we see it now in the levels of anxiety, depression, more people getting on medication, people just having a harder and harder time dealing with the stress of the financial system and everything else that's happening in today's world. We expect it to get worse before it gets better. I don't think we've seen the worst of this yet. Again, fasten your seatbelts. This roller coaster ride is going to get pretty wild. Thanks everybody for watching. Appreciate your support. Stay well, stay safe, stay prepared. Until next time.